The sound of alarms rang in her ears. Lara opened her eyes slowly. Her head was heavy, and the air smelled like smoke. She was lying on the cold metal floor of a small escape pod. Flashes of memory hit her mind. The giant ship, the loud explosion, people shouting. The sudden darkness. Her chest was rising fast, her heart beating hard. She sat up and saw broken wires hanging from the ceiling, sparks jumping like tiny stars. The red warning lights blinked again and again. Outside the cracked glass of the pod, she saw a world she had never seen before. The sky was dark red, it's almost bleeding. The ground was dry, broken like old skin. The wind carried a strange, low hum that made her skin crawl. Lara coughed and pushed herself to the pod door. It opened with a heavy hiss. Hot, dry air hit her face. She stepped outside and felt the ground crunch under her boots. The silence was strange. No voices, no engines, no signs of her crew. She turned around to look for other escape pods, but the desert stretched in every direction, far away. Tall, sharp rocks stood like giant teeth. Somewhere in the distance, she heard a sound. It was not the wind, it was footsteps, slow and heavy. Her hands shook. She reached for the emergency kit hanging from her belt. Inside was a small knife, a water tube, and a tiny medical pack. Not much to survive with. She looked again toward the sound. At first, she saw nothing. The red dust in the air made it hard to see far. Then a shadow moved. It was tall, much taller than any human. The shape was strange. Its arms were long, its head narrow. Something glowed faintly where the eyes should be. Lara froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Her mind screamed to run, but her legs refused. The figure stopped, watching her. Neither of them moved for a long moment. Then the shadow took one slow step forward. Lara's hand tightened around the knife. The alien, for she was sure it was an alien, tilted its head slightly. Its eyes glowed brighter, like molten gold. The wind rose and blew dust between them. Lara stepped back, but the alien did not come closer. It raised one hand, slowly. Palm open. Was it a greeting or a warning? She could not tell. Her voice was dry, her throat tight. "Stay back," she whispered, though she knew it would not. Understand? The alien's head turned toward the horizon. Lara followed its gaze. Far away, a wall of swirling sand moved toward them. The wind carried a deep, rumbling growl from within it. This was no ordinary storm. The alien pointed toward the sharp rocks. Then at her, it wanted her to follow. Lara's instincts screamed not to trust it, but the storm was getting closer. And the growl inside it was louder now. She looked at the escape pod. It was too small, too broken to protect her. She looked back at the alien. It was already moving toward the rocks. Lara's feet began to follow. Each step sent sharp pain. Through her legs, the storm was faster than she thought. Red dust filled the air, stinging her eyes. The growl became a roar. It was right behind them now. She glanced over her shoulder, and her blood turned cold. Something huge moved inside the storm. Its shape was massive, its head low, and its eyes glowing like fire locked on her. The alien grabbed her arm and pulled her hard toward a crack in the rocks. They stumbled inside just as the storm hit. The air was filled with dust, the roar shaking the ground. In the dim light of the crack, Lara's heart raced. She turned to thank the alien, but it was staring back toward the storm. Its golden eyes narrowed. Lara followed its gaze through the swirling dust outside. She saw a huge, clawed hand wrap around the edge of the rock. The fingers were long, sharp, and covered in dark scales. The creature was coming for them. The giant claws scraped against the rock. A deep, rumbling growl shook the narrow space. Lara's back pressed against the cold stone. Her breathing was quick, her fingers tight around the small knife. The alien stood between her and the entrance. its tall frame blocking most of the red dust outside. The creature in the storm pulled its claw back. There was a pause. Then the sound of heavy footsteps moved away into the wind. The alien lowered its head as if listening. Only the howl of the storm remained. Slowly, the alien turned toward her, up close. Lara could see its face. Its skin was silver and smooth, like metal, but alive. Two golden eyes glowed faintly. A narrow line ran down the center of its forehead. Its mouth was small, almost hidden. It had no nose, only two thin slits. It wore no clothes, but strange markings curled across its chest and arms. The marks were dark blue and seemed to move slightly, like tiny rivers. Lara felt her fear mix with curiosity. She had never seen anything like it. The alien tilted its head, studying her. It said something in a low, humming voice. The sound was soft, but strange. Lara shook her head. "I don't understand." The alien blinked slowly. It stepped forward, but not in a threatening way. Its hand rose, palm open again, this close. She could see for long fingers, ending in blunt tips. No claws, no weapons. Just a hand. She hesitated. Her heart was still beating fast. But something about the way it moved told her it was not here to hurt her. The alien turned its gaze back, toward the storm, through the narrow gap in the rock. Lara saw red clouds swirling. Something inside them moved again, a shadow far larger than before. The alien made a quick motion with its hand. Pointing deeper into the rock tunnel, it wanted her to follow. Lara hesitated, trusting it felt dangerous, but staying here with that clawed monster outside felt worse. She nodded once. The alien led the way, moving silently despite its size. The tunnel was narrow and dark. The walls were rough, covered with black dust that stuck to her hands. Their footsteps echoed softly, somewhere far away. Water dripped. After a while, they came to a wider space. The ceiling here was higher. Strange white stones jutted out from the walls. Some glowed faintly, giving the place a dim light. Lara finally let herself breathe. The alien stopped and turned to face her. It touched its chest, making a sound. The word was short, like core. She guessed it was its name. She pointed to herself, Lara. The alien repeated the name slowly. Something in the way it said it made her chest tighten. For the first time since the crash, she felt less alone. But the peace did not last long. A loud crack echoed through the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. Core's head snapped toward the noise. Another crack, closer this time. The alien stepped forward, blocking Lara again. From the shadows of the far tunnel, two glowing red eyes appeared. Not golden like Core's, these were narrow, sharp. Filled with hunger, a creature stepped into the light. Its body was low to the ground, legs thick and strong. Its mouth opened, showing rows of thin, needle-like teeth. It hissed. A sound that made Lara's skin crawl. Core raised both hands and made a sharp sound. The creature stopped for a moment. Then it moved closer. Its claws scratched against the stone. Lara stepped back until her shoulders hit the wall. Core reached behind and handed her a flat piece of sharp black stone. A weapon. She held it tightly, her palms sweating. The creature lunged. Core moved faster than she expected. His arm shot out, grabbing the thing by the neck. The creature twisted and bit his forearm. Blue light spilled from the wound. Core didn't flinch. With one powerful motion, he threw the creature against the wall. It let out a screech and vanished back into the tunnel it came from. Lara's breath shook. She looked at Core's arm. The glowing cut was deep blue light. Pulsed from it, she stepped forward and opened her medical kit. Core watched her, but did not pull away. She cleaned the wound and wrapped it. The strange blue light faded slightly under the bandage when she was done. Core looked at her for a long moment. Then he pointed to the bandage, then to her, a silent thank you. Lara almost smiled. but the sound of the storm outside reminded her they were not safe yet. Core motioned for her to follow again. As they moved deeper into the tunnels, Lara realized something. This alien was not just helping her survive, it was leading her somewhere, and she had no idea why. The tunnels grew colder as they walked. The air smelled damp now. Mixed with a strange metallic taste, Lara's footsteps echoed softly behind Core. He moved without sound, his tall frame blending with the shadows. The glowing stones in the walls became fewer, the darkness thickened until they could barely see ahead. Lara's chest tightened. She had no idea where this alien was taking her. But the memory of the storm and that giant claw kept her from turning back. They reached a chamber that was wider than the others. The ceiling arched high above, dripping. With water in the middle of the floor was a shallow pool, its surface glowing faint blue. Core walked to it and dipped his hands into the water. He cupped it toward his mouth and drank. Then he pointed for Lara to do the same. She hesitated. Water from an alien planet could kill her, but her throat was so dry it felt like sand. She knelt down. The water was cool, almost sweet, when it touched her lips. A strange warmth spread through her chest. She drank more than she meant to. When she looked up, Core was watching her closely. His golden eyes glimmered faintly in the dim light. The storm's roar outside had softened now, but in the distance, a low rumble still rolled through the rock. Core moved to the side of the chamber and began arranging small flat stones in a circle. Lara realized he was building a fire pit. He struck two dark stones together. Sparks jumped out. Soon a small flame grew between them. The warm light spread across the walls. Strange symbols became visible, carved deep into the rock. Some looked like stars, others like spirals or waves. Lara stepped closer. There. Maps, she whispered to herself. Core touched one of the star shapes. The lines pulsed faintly under his fingers. He turned to her and made a slow, sweeping motion with his hand toward the ceiling. Lara guessed he was talking about the sky. Maybe even other worlds. They sat near the fire. Lara pulled her knees close, her body aching from the crash. Core sat across from her, silent, but his eyes never stopped watching. She wanted to ask questions. Where are we? What is that monster? How do we escape? But she knew he would not understand. Instead, she watched him take something from a small pouch at his side. It looked like dried meat, but darker and with a faint glow. He broke a piece and offered it to her. The smell was strange, smoky but sharp. Hunger won over fear. She bit into it. The taste was unlike anything she had known. Bitter at first, then sweet. It warmed her stomach instantly. Core gave a small nod as if approving her choice. Hours passed in silence. The fire's glow made the chamber feel less like a tomb, but outside, the wind still whispered through the tunnels. Then, without warning, a deep vibration shook the ground. The water in the pool rippled. Core stood instantly, his head turning toward one of the dark tunnel mouths. A sound followed, slow, heavy breathing. Not the storm, not the wind. This was closer. Lara's fingers tightened around the black stone blade he had given her earlier. The breathing grew louder. Then a shape appeared in the shadows of the tunnel. At first, it was only a black mass. Then, two huge, pale eyes opened in the dark. They reflected the firelight like glass. The creature stepped forward. Its body was long and skeletal, its skin stretched tight. It moved low, almost crawling. Its jaw opened wider than seemed possible. Rows of teeth caught the firelight. Core stepped in front of Lara, his arms out. He made a low, rumbling sound from deep in his chest. The creature froze for a second. Then, it hissed, a sound like steam escaping from metal. It rushed forward. Core moved fast, grabbing a burning stick from the fire and swinging it wide. The flames lit the creature's thin face. It screeched and backed away, its claws scraping stone. It turned and vanished into the dark tunnel. The sound of its retreat echoed for a long time. When silence returned, Lara's body felt weak. She lowered the blade, but her hand still shook. Kor threw the burning stick back into the fire and stared at the tunnel the creature had come from. For a moment, Lara thought he might chase it, but instead, he turned to her. He made a short motion. With his hand, "Stay close." She nodded. They sat again near the fire, but the feeling of safety was gone. Every shadow seemed deeper now. Every sound felt like a warning. Lara pulled the thin blanket from her pack and lay near the fire. Her eyes closed, but her mind stayed. Awake, the image of those pale eyes in the dark would not leave her. And as she drifted toward uneasy sleep, she had the strange feeling that something else in the tunnels was watching them. The air in the tunnels was heavy when Lara woke. The fire had burned low, leaving only a faint red glow. Kor was not beside her. Panic rushed through her chest. She sat up quickly and scanned the chamber. The sound of footsteps echoed from one of the side tunnels. A moment later, Kor stepped out of the darkness. His arms were full of strange fruits, each glowing faint yellow. He dropped them gently on the ground between them. Lara reached for one. It felt soft, like warm bread. She bit into it, and sweet juice filled her mouth. It eased her hunger almost instantly. Kor gave a short nod and began packing the rest into a small pouch. He made a gesture toward the tunnel they needed to move. They walked for a long time. Through twisting paths, the glowing stones on the walls became brighter here. Lara noticed the air was warmer. Kor moved carefully, pausing often to listen. Lara tried to follow his movements. Stepping lightly, then they heard it, a low growl. Ahead, it was the same sound she had heard in the storm. Her stomach tightened. Kor motioned for her to stay back. He crouched low, his golden eyes fixed forward. Lara peeked over his shoulder. Through a narrow opening, she saw a wide cavern lit by cracks in the ceiling. And there it was, the creature from the storm. Its massive body moved slowly across the cavern. Thick scales shimmered dark green. Its tail dragged behind, leaving deep grooves in the ground. Its head was flat and broad, with a mouth full of jagged teeth. Two burning red eyes scanned the cavern. It was searching for them. Kor's hand tightened around the spear-like weapon he now carried. Lara held her black stone blade tighter. The creature sniffed the air, its nostrils flaring. Then its head swung toward their hiding place. Kor grabbed Lara's arm and pulled her back into the shadows. The creature let out a roar so loud it made the rocks shake. Then it began moving toward them. Kor pushed Lara down a narrow side tunnel. The walls scraped her arms as they ran. Behind them, the creature's roar echoed again. Its heavy steps shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling in thin streams. They emerged into another cavern, smaller but full of strange glowing plants. The air here was damp. Kor motioned for Lara to stay low. He picked one of the plants, its vines dripping with glowing liquid. He smeared the liquid along the walls of the tunnel they had just come from. Then he took Lara's hand and pulled her behind a cluster of rocks. The ground trembled as the creature entered. It lowered its head and sniffed the glowing liquid. A strange clicking sound came from its throat. Then it roared and lunged forward. Smashing through the plants, the rocks shook around them. Kor pushed Lara deeper behind the stones as the creature's massive tail swept across the floor. It missed them by inches. Kor picked up a shard of rock and threw it to the far side of the cavern. The sound echoed sharply. The creature turned and charged toward the noise. Kor grabbed Lara's wrist. Now. They ran through another tunnel while the beast's tail smashed into the ground behind them. The air turned hotter as they moved. Soon, the tunnel opened into a space filled with strange crystal pillars. Each one pulsed faintly with light. Lara slowed, staring at them in awe, but Kor pulled her forward quickly. He kept glancing back toward the tunnel. The sound of the creature was growing again. It had found their trail. Kor stopped suddenly and pointed upward. There was a narrow ledge high on the wall. If they climbed, they might be out of the creature's reach. He began climbing quickly, his long arms pulling him up with ease. Lara struggled to follow. Her boots slipped on the smooth stone below. The creature burst into the crystal chamber. The light from the crystals reflected in its eyes, making them blaze even brighter. It saw them, it roared and charged toward the wall. Kor reached down and grabbed Lara's arm, pulling her up onto the ledge just as the creature slammed into the rock below. The ledge shook but held. The creature's claws scraped the wall, leaving deep scars. It could not reach them, but it would not leave. Kor crouched beside her, breathing hard. They watched the beast pace below. Its tail lashed the ground, smashing several of the crystal pillars, each one shattered with a burst of light. The glow in the chamber dimmed. Lara's heart pounded in her ears. She looked at Kor. He was watching the creature closely, almost studying it. Finally, he turned to her and made a strange motion with his hands, a shape of a circle, then a line through it. She didn't understand, but the way his eyes narrowed told her one thing. Kor was not just trying to escape the creature, he was planning to hunt it. The beast's roars still echoed in Lara's head long after they left the crystal chamber. Kor led her through twisting paths until the sounds faded. The air grew cooler, the tunnels narrowed, forcing them to walk close. Lara's body ached from climbing and running, but she kept moving. She didn't want to be left behind in this place. After a while, they entered a new chamber. The walls here were smooth, not rough like the others. They were covered in carvings. Some were symbols. Others showed shapes of tall figures with glowing eyes. Kor moved slowly, touching the carvings as if they were important. When his fingers passed over one image, the stone glowed faintly. It showed two figures standing side by side, one taller, one smaller. Between them, a spiral symbol glowed brighter than the rest. Kor turned to Lara and pointed at the spiral. His expression was hard to read. Was it a warning or something else? Lara stepped closer. The glow from the spiral reflected in Kor's golden eyes. She felt a strange warmth in her chest. It was the same warmth she had felt when she drank from the blue pool. She touched the carving. For a brief moment, the air seemed to hum softly, then the light faded. Kor gave a small nod, almost like approval. They rested in this chamber for a while. Kor took out one of the glowing fruits and shared it with her. She noticed his injured arm again. The bandage she had wrapped was faintly glowing now. Blue light pulsed under it like a slow heartbeat. She reached out to check it. Kor didn't pull away. His skin was warm under her fingers, smoother than any human skin. The wound looked less deep now, almost healed. She wondered if his body could repair itself faster than hers. As they sat, Lara felt her own body changing. Her heartbeat was stronger, her senses sharper. She could hear the faint drip of water somewhere far away, and she could smell the fruit's sweet scent more clearly. She didn't tell Kor. She didn't know if it was fear or instinct, but something inside her whispered that this was not normal. Later, Kor motioned for them to move again. They walked through a tunnel that sloped downward. The air became damp and warm. Soon they reached a cavern filled with glowing plants and vines. The light here was soft green. Small creatures with transparent wings floated through the air. Lara reached out and one landed on her hand. Its tiny body pulsed with light. She smiled for the first time since the crash. Kor watched her with a calm expression. For a moment, it felt almost peaceful. They gathered some of the glowing plants. Kor tied them together into a bundle and handed it to her. The vines felt alive, pulsing faintly. She wondered if they were food or medicine. Kor didn't explain. Instead, he led her to a hidden alcove at the side of the cavern. It was small, but warm. The walls curved inward. Making it feel safe, he motioned for her to rest. She sat down and leaned against the wall. Her body felt heavy. Her eyelids began to close. She woke to the sound of movement. Kor was kneeling nearby, arranging the glowing plants around the entrance of the alcove. The soft green light made his silver skin shimmer. For the first time, she noticed the patterns on his skin more clearly. They weren't random. They moved in slow, flowing lines, like rivers carrying light under the surface. When he looked at her, the lines seemed to shift and glow brighter. Lara's breath caught for a moment. It was strange, but not frightening. They sat together in silence. The air between them felt different now. Kor reached into his pouch and took out a small, flat object. It was made of dark metal. Shaped like an oval, he pressed it to his chest. It glowed softly. Then he held it out to her. Lara hesitated before taking it. When her fingers touched it, a wave of warmth spread through her. Images flashed in her mind. Stars, strange landscapes, creatures she didn't know. Then, for just a second, she saw herself standing beside Kor. The image faded as quickly as it came. She looked at him, confused. Kor tilted his head, as if asking if she understood. She shook her head slowly, but inside, a strange feeling grew. It wasn't fear, it was connection. That night, as she lay in the alcove, Lara's hand drifted to her stomach. There was no reason to, but something in her body felt different. Not painful, not heavy, just alive. She closed her eyes in the darkness behind her eyelids. She saw the spiral symbol from the carvings again. It turned slowly, glowing brighter. Her breathing slowed. The sound of Kor's steady presence nearby was the last thing she heard, before sleep took her far in the tunnels beyond. The distant roar of the beast rolled through the stone. But here, in this hidden alcove, a new kind of danger was quietly beginning. Lara woke to a strange warmth spreading through her body. It was not from the fire. It came from inside her. For a moment, she lay still, listening to the quiet hum of the alcove. Kor was already awake, sitting near the entrance, watching the tunnels beyond. His golden eyes glowed faintly in the dim green light of the plants. When she sat up, a wave of dizziness hit her. The walls seemed to tilt for a second before they steadied. She touched her forehead. Her skin was warm. Her heart beat faster than usual. Kor turned his head, studying her. He made a low sound, almost like a question. "I'm fine," she whispered, though she knew he wouldn't understand. He didn't look convinced. He reached into his pouch and pulled out the flat, dark object he had given her before. This time, when she took it, the warmth it gave was stronger. Images flashed in her mind again. Stars, the spiral symbol, and then a shape inside a glowing sphere. The sphere pulsed, just like her heartbeat. She pulled her hand back, breathing fast. Kor spoke in his strange, humming voice. He pointed to her, then to the spiral shape carved on the alcove wall. Lara shook her head, not understanding. He stepped closer and placed his hand gently over her stomach. The warmth inside her seemed to respond. Her breath caught. He drew the spiral in the air between them. Her mind flashed to the night she had first drunk from the blue pool. The same warmth had started then. She remembered the carvings in the ancient chamber, two figures, the spiral between them. Her stomach turned. She looked at Kor, her voice barely a whisper. "What's happening to me?" He didn't answer in words. Instead, he touched the oval object to his chest. This time, the image in her mind was clearer. She saw a figure like herself. Its body glowed from within, inside. A small spark of light grew brighter. Her hand moved slowly to her own stomach. A faint pulse answered under her palm. Her breath came sharp. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. She backed away until her shoulders hit the wall. Kor stayed where he was, his eyes calm but serious. He didn't move closer. Instead, he spoke in a slow, steady tone. The hum of his words seemed to soften the panic in her chest. She didn't know the language, but somehow a part of her understood. Her life was now tied to his. Something had been given to her, something growing. Her thoughts spun. She was human. This was impossible, and yet her body told her it was real. Her senses were sharper. Her strength had grown. Even the way she moved felt different now, she remembered. The giant beast, the way she had kept running without collapsing. That was not just adrenaline. Core stood and motioned for her to follow. She hesitated, but the thought of staying alone in the alcove made her move. They walked through a narrow tunnel that soon opened into a vast chamber. The air here was hot and heavy. The ceiling was high, lit by cracks where the red sky leaked through. At the center of the floor, a massive stone platform stood. Symbols covered its surface. The spiral symbol was carved in the middle. Core walked to it and placed both hands on the spiral. The stone began to glow. Lines of light spread across the platform like veins. Lara stepped back, her heart racing. A low rumble filled the air. Images formed in the light, not just symbols, but moving shapes. She saw a world covered in water. Tall silver-skinned beings standing on cliffs. She saw a storm tearing their cities apart. Then the same spiral symbol, glowing brighter than the sun. It connected two figures, one silver, one human. The human's body glowed. Inside it, the spiral burned. Then the image shifted. She saw the giant beast, the same one hunting them. Its eyes glowed red as it destroyed everything in its path. The light faded, leaving the chamber in silence. Lara's hands trembled. Her voice was unsteady. That thing, it's connected to all this, isn't it? Core's eyes met hers. He gave a slow, firm nod. She felt the pulse in her stomach again. Not painful, but undeniable. Whatever was growing inside her was tied to the fate of this place. And the beast was not going to stop until it found them. The ground suddenly shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. A roar echoed through the tunnels, closer than before. Core grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the far side of the chamber. They ran into another passage. Behind them, the sound of claws scraping stone grew louder. The beast had found their trail again. And this time, it was hunting with purpose. The tunnel shook with every step of the beast. The sound of its roar filled the air. Bouncing off the stone walls, Lara's lungs burned as she ran. Core moved ahead, pulling her with one hand. The glowing plants tied to her pack swayed wildly, casting shifting shadows around them. The smell of dust and heat filled her nose. Behind them, claws scraped against rock, closer and closer. The tunnel opened suddenly into a vast cavern. Lara stumbled to a stop. Above them, the ceiling was gone. The sky stretched wide, dark red and swirling with clouds. At the far end of the cavern stood a massive stone structure. It rose high, its surface covered in glowing lines like the carvings she had seen before. Core didn't pause. He pulled her toward it. The beast's roar echoed again, even louder. She turned and saw its shadow at the tunnel mouth. Its eyes blazed red as it stepped into the open. Its body was even larger in the light. Scales glinting, its tail lashed, smashing a boulder into dust. Core reached the base of the stone structure and pressed his palm to a spiral symbol carved deep into it. The lines on the surface lit up in a wave. A low hum filled the air. A panel at the base opened with a heavy groan. Inside was a strange device, metal, curved, with parts that moved like they were alive. Core pulled it free and began twisting parts into place. Lara watched the beast advance. It moved slow now, almost like it was enjoying the hunt. Her chest tightened. The pulse in her stomach beat harder, faster. She stepped toward Core. "What are you doing?" she said, her voice shaking. He didn't look up. The hum from the device grew louder. The air around it shimmered like heat on metal. The beast roared again and charged. The ground shook under its weight. Core turned suddenly. Grabbing Lara and pulling her behind the structure, the beast slammed into the side. The impact sent cracks racing up the stone. Pieces fell from the ceiling above. Core pushed Lara toward a narrow path that ran along the wall of the cavern. They ran, the beast following. Its massive body scraped the wall, sending chunks of rock into the air. The path narrowed until it was barely wide enough for one person. Lara's boots slipped on the edge. The drop below was endless darkness. Core steadied her with one hand while holding the device with the other. The hum from it was almost deafening now. They reached a ledge overlooking the center of the cavern. Core stopped and set the device down. He pointed toward the open sky above. Lara realized what he was trying to do: send a signal. He pressed something on the side of the device. A column of light shot upward, piercing the clouds. The beast roared in fury and began climbing toward them. Its claws dug deep into the wall. Core picked up a shard of stone and hurled it. It bounced harmlessly off the beast's head. It didn't even slow down. Lara's heartbeat pounded in her ears. She looked at the light beam. It was working, but slowly. The device pulsed brighter with each beat of her own pulse. She didn't know how, but she could feel it. Her body and the signal were somehow linked. Core seemed to know too. He looked at her, his golden eyes intense. He placed his hand over her stomach for just a second. Then he turned and faced the beast. He made a deep, echoing roar of his own. The sound shook the air. The beast paused, its head tilting. Then it lunged. Core met it halfway. The two collided with a crash that sent dust and shards of rock flying. Lara screamed his name. The beast's tail lashed, slamming into the wall near her. The ledge cracked under her feet. She fell to her knees, gripping the edge. The device's light beam grew brighter. It pulsed so strongly she could feel it in her bones. Core fought fiercely, striking the beast's head and dodging its snapping jaws. But the creature was too strong. It slammed him against the wall. Blue light spilled from his wounds. Lara's chest burned with fear without thinking. She grabbed a long shard of crystal from the ground. She ran forward and drove it into the beast's neck. The crystal sank deep. The beast roared and swung its head, throwing her back. She hit the ground hard. Her vision blurred through the haze. She saw Core grab the crystal and push it deeper. The beast let out one final, shaking roar before collapsing. The ground trembled under its weight. Core staggered, his body glowing faintly. He turned toward her and pointed at the sky. The light beam was still shining, but now something moved above. A shape in the clouds. A ship descending. Lara's breath caught, but Core didn't smile. His golden eyes darkened. The ship broke through the clouds. Its shape was sharp, its surface black. It didn't look human. Lara's pulse quickened. Core stepped in front of her. The ship's lights swept across the cavern. They weren't here to save them. The sound of engines filled the air. Dust swirled around them. Lara's hand went to her stomach. The faint second heartbeat was still there. She realized in that moment, whatever was inside her was the reason this ship had come, and it would stop at nothing to take it.